Kinder Chocolate. Delicious bars of smooth milk chocolate with a creamy, milky filling. Crafted for your kids, loved by all. Warm up with great deals at Canadian Tire's Winter Super Sale. Save up to 40% on select kitchen appliances, vacuums, auto essentials, and more until February 12th.
In the heartland of America, the Miami River acts as a makeshift grave. A severed torso washes up on shore. The gruesome discovery leaves investigators with unanswered questions. In San Diego, California, a killer has left behind pieces of evidence. Detectives must sort through these small clues to prove murder. Some killers go to great lengths to leave little trace of their violence or their victims. But the twisted path that led them to murder is often paved with lies. Sometimes those closest to us can be the most dangerous. Beneath a layer of trust can lie a hidden obsession. In this episode, some of the names have been changed. In Hamilton, Ohio, residents enjoy a peaceful suburban lifestyle. The inner city crime of Cincinnati is miles away. But on April 13th, 1998, it didn't seem quite so far. A couple had spotted a human torso washed ashore along the Miami River and called the Butler County Sheriff's Office. Major Anthony Dwyer was the lead investigator on the case. He was also the first to closely examine the remains. Because the body had been in the river, it was badly decomposed and barely recognizable.
When we first discovered the torso, it was up here on the bank, and there was very little we could determine from that. You could tell that it was a white person, but you couldn't even tell if it was a male or a female because of the condition of the body.
The investigators were unable to tell much about the torso. But one thing was clear. This was no accident.
Because the extremities being cut off, we took a close look at the bones, and there were saw marks there.
The torso was carefully collected and transported to the morgue for a more thorough examination. Investigators continued to search the area for missing body parts and clues that would help them identify the body. They found nothing. Butler County Chief Coroner Dr. Richard Burkhart performed the autopsy. Without a head or even fingerprints to guide him, identifying the body would be difficult. And there was an additional challenge. He first needed to determine the victim's gender.
The unusual thing about the torso was that we weren't immediately able to say whether it was male or female. An examination was made of the lower abdomen or pelvis, and we found the presence of a uterus and ovaries. Obviously now the torso is a female. There is the injuries on the arms and the chest.
But Dr. Burkhart still did not know how she died.
We x-rayed the body to make sure there wasn't any lead from a bullet. And examination of the heart, lungs for conditions that could have caused death, such as stab wounds, none were found.
The only certainty was that her head and limbs had been cleanly severed. The tool markings left on the body looked as if they were made with a household saw. Based on the temperature of the river and the level of the body's decomposition, Burkhart believed the woman had been dead for at least 2 weeks.
When we come to the neck,
Cincinnati Sheriff's Office, Major Dwyer read the autopsy report and began to slowly piece together a case. A woman was dead, but he knew little else. Each year, an average of 50 people are reported missing in Butler County alone.
Our first priority was to try and identify the body. Then the subsequent part is obviously it's a homicide or some kind of abuse of a corpse where they've cut somebody up. It's going to be a long run to even try and identify it.
If Major Dwyer hoped to ever identify the woman, he needed more information. To narrow the search, investigators turned to Dr. Elizabeth Murray, an anthropologist at the College of Mount St. Joseph in Cincinnati. One of only 50 certified forensic anthropologists in the country, she is an expert in analyzing skeletal remains. After boiling the bones to remove the flesh, Dr. Murray examined them to establish the victim's approximate age. Because the chest of the torso was slight in build, she could not rule out the possibility that the victim was a teenager. However, a closer examination of the collarbone, rib cage, and pelvis showed otherwise.
When I came up with a rough age range of probably 25 to 45 years of age at time of death, and I felt that she was probably somewhere right in the middle of that age range.
Dr. Murray next began the difficult process of determining the victim's height.
Normally you would measure long bones such as one from the legs, but in this case we didn't have those. I had to use some unusual methods. I had to take the clavicle from the torso, measure it, and try to come up with a stature based on that. And that isn't a bone that directly contributes to your stature, so that method was a bit unusual.
Dr. Murray concluded the victim was taller than average, between 5 feet 6 and 6 feet 1. Although the physical description was vague, it gave Major Dwyer a definite lead.
Torso only recovered.
He resumed his search where he had started it, back at the river.
CNN all missing reports.
Major Dwyer searched databases of missing persons reports starting 20 miles upstream.
From the Hamilton area north along the Great Miami River, the river runs to the south, so we figured the body was placed somewhere north of Hamilton.
They got a hit.
Approximate height, 5 foot.
14 miles upriver, a woman from Middletown, Ohio, was missing.
Requesting all missing
She
persons.
fit the physical description, both slender and taller than average.
We found several missings from north of Hamilton. We started individually pulling those reports, and we located this one missing that was Cheryl Durkin. So we started focusing on her. She fit the bill as the best possible missing person to match what we had.
At the Middletown Police Department, Major Dwyer met with Detective Frank Hensley. Detective Hensley headed up the missing persons investigation on Cheryl Durkin. Cheryl's sister, Carla Edwards, reported her missing on March 20th, 3 weeks before the torso was found.
The sister was really concerned at that time because she hadn't checked in with her, and it was out of character for her not to do that. Carla, her sister.
Now they needed to confirm that the torso found in the Miami River was Cheryl Durkin.
2111.
I'll give her a call and go out and talk to her and see.
Since neither dental records nor fingerprints could be used for identification, investigators turned to DNA for confirmation. In the lab, researchers compared 2 DNA samples, one from Cheryl's mother and the other from the victim. They matched. Cheryl Durkin was no longer a missing person. She was now the victim of a homicide. In hopes of tracking down her killer, investigators needed to learn as much about Cheryl's life as possible. They began by retracing the last moments of her life.
And we started looking for suspects. And you generally look to the last to see them, the first to find them, and the closest to them. Those are your key factors in most homicides.
They hoped Cheryl's sister Carla could provide them with the answers they needed. They asked her about her sister's recent activities. Carla said that although her sister had been involved in drugs in the past, she appeared to be putting her life back together.
Just really were trying to get her life clean and make a fresh start.
Cheryl had moved in with Carla. In spite of all the difficulties, the two were very close. She told police that just before they discovered her sister's torso, she received a phone call from a man named Scott Rothwell. Rothwell asked her if Cheryl's body had turned up yet. He also made comments about her being cut up in a barrel someplace.
You know everything, and if you think of anything else, give us a call, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. Thanks.
This information quickly made him the prime suspect. A criminal background check indicated he had been arrested several times and accused of domestic abuse by his former wife.
He lived close to the river. There were some other attributes there that started to make us look very closely at him as a potential suspect. Mr. Rothwell lives in the city of Middletown. He was a close friend of Cheryl. She'd spent some time at his house. She called him quite frequently. Come in. Have a seat.
Major Dwyer brought him to the Butler County Sheriff's Office for questioning.
I appreciate you coming in.
Rothwell explained he'd heard rumors that a local drug dealer had killed and dismembered a woman fitting his friend Cheryl Durkin's description.
Couple 3 years.
He didn't know the man's name, but he agreed to help in any way he could.
I'll show you something. When we first targeted Scott Rothwell as a suspect, one of the first things we did is we pulled his phone records. That enabled us to track phone calls that she had made to him and isolate when she was still alive. Then any known call ended at about February 24th of 98. And that helped us narrow down a time frame as to when she probably disappeared.
The last phone call Cheryl made to Rothwell was from a payphone on Garfield Avenue. He explained that Cheryl frequently called him from that payphone. Because she didn't have a car, she relied on friends for rides. Dwyer believed his story.
He was a pretty stand-up guy. He came forward, cooperated. He helped us quite a bit with the phone records. I tell you what, Scott, I appreciate you coming in. I know it's been a long day. As the case unfolded, he became less and less of a potential suspect.
The investigators were convinced Scott Rothwell was not a killer. Even with more information, it amounted to nothing more than an unsubstantiated rumor. They were no closer to solving the Cheryl Durkin case than when they began. Her killer, a person capable of extraordinary cruelty, was still out there. In Ohio, a vicious killer had murdered 34-year-old Cheryl Durkin and cut her body to pieces. Her torso had washed up on the shores of the Miami River. The victim's head, as well as her arms and legs, had not been found. Desperate for leads, they tried a new approach. Cheryl's remains were sent to Dr. Stephen Sims at the University of Tennessee Regional Forensic Center. As a toolmark expert, Dr. Sims needed to determine what was used to dismember Cheryl's body. Sims examined the distinctive markings on the ends of the bones.
I can look at striations and determine something about the shape. In this case, it's a very unique cut in that these striations
I'm coming.
cut surface of the bone are not straight. In fact, they show a fixed radius curvature. Thus, numerous
Good morning. I am doing pretty good. I just woke up. I'm about to have my breakfast now. Okay, well, have a good day, everyone.